Hey, it's Steve. Let's talk about this abundance deep dive that we're doing together for August. So this is not going to be a salesy video, I promise. I've got my laptop here. I'm going to go over a lot of the information about it, and the real purpose of this video is to help you make an informed decision, help you decide whether this idea aligns with you and you want to do it, or you feel it's not your cup of tea and you decide to skip it, okay? So in a typical salesy video, they do all this rah-rah stuff up front, and then they finally give you the key information at the end. And I'm going to give you all the key information up front, because if somebody else were doing this type of thing, that's what I would want to know. And I suspect you're probably a bit like me in that sense if you've been reading my blog or you're subscribed to my newsletter especially. So what are we doing here? This is a 30-day deep dive experience. So I have a lot of experience doing 30-day trials where I do some kind of challenge for 30 days. This is not really meant as a challenge. This is meant more as a group experience of us coming together, and we're going to work on one of the hard problems in life, which is the challenge of overcoming scarcity in different areas of life, financial scarcity, social scarcity, and various other types, and coming together, working on this as a group, and let's up-level ourselves is the whole idea here. Let's increase our experience of abundance in life. So I'm going to be doing these lessons each day for about 30 minutes. This is going to be a group video share. So I'll be on video just like I'm talking to you now, and I want to keep this casual. It's not going to be businessy or corporate style or anything like that. It's going to be about 30 minutes a day for 30 days in a row, August 1st to August 30th, sharing insights and tools and strategies on abundance. So the real purpose here is to help you up-level in this area of your life, to help you shift beyond scarcity, and to help you create a more aligned experience of abundance in your life. And a little bit later in this video, still fairly early on, I'll share some of the different types of scarcity that people experience, and give you some more specifics about what kind of angle, what kind of approach we're going to be using here. Okay, but first, the logistics aspects. So they're daily live video calls for 30 minutes a day, so you'll be able to join. It's using a service called Zoom. You'll be able to join each day and watch on live video if you want. Now, if you can't do the live calls at the time we'll be having them, there's an alternative approach too, so I'll share that in a moment. We're going to be doing these calls at the same time every day, including weekends. So August 1st to August 30th, always at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Okay, so you can translate that to your own time zone, but we're basing it on whatever 11 a.m. in Pacific time is. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm on Pacific time, so that's the time we're going for. It's going to be mobile friendly, so you can connect to these calls with any mobile device as long as you have some kind of internet connection. Okay. We'll be recording these calls too. So here's another cool aspect. All the calls will be recorded, and you will get the recordings the same day. So usually within a few hours. So as soon as the service we're using gets back to me with the recordings, I'll be posting them in a membership portal, and you'll get access to that when you join. And so even if you can't make the call times, you can still watch those calls within like a few hours. They'll be posted, so you can go along pretty much the same day we're doing these. And so that's kind of nice. You can do this asynchronously. Now, another way you can do it, because you'll have the call recordings, and you get to keep these afterwards. They'll be streamable. You can stream them through the portal that I'll share with you, or you can download them and watch them on your own devices. You'll be able to download them through audio and video, or stream them audio and video. So you can listen, you can watch, a lot of flexibility there. You get to keep these afterwards. So if you don't have time to keep up with the group pacing, that's totally fine. There's really no way to fall behind here. Okay, so yes, there is that group energy that we're doing this along the way live too, but if you can't sync with that, that's no issue at all. If you want to take 60 days to do the whole series or 90 days, spread it out over time, you're going to own everything at the end anyway. Okay, you can review this years later if you like. That's kind of part of my intention for this series is to give you something really cool that will help you sync to abundance, something you can review whenever you want. Okay, what else? So, another aspect we'll have, which I think is really cool, which brings in more of a community feel to it, is first of all, I'm expecting a lot of people to do this. Okay, so this is not a one-on-one coaching thing. So I don't want to establish that type of expectation here. This is definitely more of a group type of thing, and so it's like me sharing ideas with you each time. Now there is a mechanism for feedback, and that is that we're going to have an open text chat channel during these calls. That's built into the software we're using. So you'll have like a little box in the corner of your screen where you can type messages, and you can post them in a whole group. So you can chat with everybody else that's on the call. Now, depending on how many people we have, I'm not sure how useful that'll be in real time, because it might, if there's a lot of people, there might be flowing, messages going by so quickly we can't keep up with them. Now, I don't want to give you the expectation that I'm going to be reading these during the call. I think that's unrealistic. I think it would just be too distracting. I'm going to have some, material that I'll share each call, and I want to focus on that. So I want to focus on the sharing aspect and the energy and the vibe that we're creating. However, you can, read other people's messages during the call. So this is a chance for you to make commentary along the way, ask questions, and share other tips, resources, share your wins, share what's working for you, share where you're still struggling. This is meant to be like us coming together and really trying to help each other. So after each call, you'll also get a copy of that text transcript. We'll put that in the portal too that same day. Okay, so we get a copy of that. So everything you post there is going to be shared with the whole group. There is a mechanism also if you just want to send a message just straight to me that only I will see. You can do that, or you can send me a message privately through like the contact form on my website. So there's a daily feedback mechanism. Now, what I'll do is after each session, when I get that chat transcript, it's all text messages basically, I'll go over and review it. Depending on how long it is, I don't know how much of it that I'll be able to realistically review, but I'll make my best effort to do that, and I'll read through it. Maybe I'll have Rochelle help me too, and we can go over this together. And we're going to be looking for feedback, like what's working for people, where are people still struggling, how can we make this better? And every day, it's like another feedback round where I get to look at this feedback and I use it to inform what I want to share next. So I already have lots and lots of ideas for what to share here. But what I love about this format is that it's iterative. We can keep going and improving as we go along. And I really want to make this a home run for you. I really want to find what those scarcity challenges are for you and how you're experiencing them. And do what I can. I want this to be really helpful for you. I want this to be a win for you. So I think that's a really interesting way of doing it. Now, I'm designing this as an approach to be scalable, so we can handle lots and lots of people. So if thousands of people want to do this, this will work, to some extent or another. It's not one-on-one coaching, so I don't want to have that expectation here. But it is an interesting medium. It's an interesting type of group experience. It's not something I've ever done before. So this is a new thing we're trying here. So I want, if you go into this, if you decide to participate, I want you to approach it with an open mind and try to help us make this work for everybody. Try to make this a win for everybody, okay? We're going to cover a lot of different aspects of abundance. This is not like a shallow treatment of it. This is not just like a one-hit wonder type of approach where we're going for just all law of attraction on the way through or just very grounded practical tools. We're going to cover mindset and mental ways to frame scarcity and abundance so that you can actually make progress. We'll cover the heart set. We'll cover the emotional aspect of it. We'll cover tools. We'll cover practices. We're going to cover action steps and strategies. We'll even cover the spiritual side. We'll bring in, how to use the subjective reality angle on this too, in addition to the objective side. So we're going to really hit this from all different angles because I think for many people, scarcity has a lot of different branches to it. It shows up in a lot of different ways. And my intention for the series is to really give you a package of tools and a mindset and a heart set for approaching scarcity that is going to benefit for you. Is going to benefit you for the rest of your life, really for decades. And a lot of stuff I'll be sharing is from my own experience of dealing with different forms of scarcity. Now, the price for this is $97. That's all in. There's no tiers, so it's not like there's a $297 level or a $497 level or anything like that. I want this to feel very fair. I want everybody here to be on the same level with this. My intention is to really put together something here that's an irresistible offer for the people who really want to work on this, especially people who've been reading my blog for a while or subscribed to my newsletter, people in this community, people who've been to my workshops before. I really think at this pricing, it's a no-brainer, okay? I just don't want to play games with the pricing here. I don't want to mess with you. I want this to be accessible because I'm doing this in a way that I think can scale and I think can help a lot of people. If we have 10,000 people wanting to do this, we can accommodate them. I don't think we'll get that many, but who knows? So we can accommodate a lot of people if we do this in a scalable way. So this is partly an experiment for me too. And so the pricing is designed to make it highly accessible, and it's designed to make it just an easy yes for you if you really want to work on this. If you feel aligned with what we're doing here, I just want it to be easy for you to say yes. It's not meant to be a financially stressful decision for most of my readers. It's meant to be like, okay, this is a no-brainer. Yes, this is win-win. Let's do this. Great. Okay. The deadline for signing up is July 31st at midnight Pacific time. So that's July 31st, 2018. It's coming up quick at midnight. And that's because we start in the morning the very next day, August 1st. So we need some time to make sure we get everybody, access to what they need, and we can get going. Now, I'll also include a bunch of extra gifts just to help with reinforcement and consistency. And they're listed on the webpage for this. So if you want to go through that list, fine. I'm not going to go over all of them in detail in the video because I think it's a bit redundant. So that's the basic idea here. There's the basic offer, in the first 11 minutes or so. If that's all you need, great. You don't have to watch the rest of the video. If you're already in, great, go do it. There's a sign up button at the bottom of the page, and I invite you to join if that's what if you got the information you need, great. If you want to learn more, the rest of this video is totally optional, so I'll go much more into depth if you want to get a little bit more aligned with what we're doing here and like what your general approach is for scarcity, what kind of vibe we're going for. I'm going to share all of that next, okay? So first off, what I did is a few weeks ago, I emailed the people who are subscribed to my newsletter list, and I told them about this idea for this deep dive, and there was a lot of enthusiastic responses. Like people were like, yes, 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 I definitely want to do this. So I definitely think we're going to have a great crowd doing this. And I asked a couple of questions in that email. I asked, first of all, what are your biggest problems and challenges when it comes to dealing with scarcity or trying to align with abundance? Like, how do you frame this for yourself? And the second question was, what would make this particular deep dive experience a win for you? What do you want out of this? And I got a lot of responses. And I actually spent days just reading all the replies. And I actually replied to everybody who wrote back to me. At least to my best recollection, I did. And I took a lot of notes. I basically typed it all up, and I got really good insights. And it was interesting because it wasn't quite what I expected. I framed scarcity a little different than many people do. There was a lot of things where it was, okay, this is really familiar to me, and some things were a little different. So what I found were there were three really core patterns. When I eventually went over all this information and I boiled it down to the essentials, I got it down to basically three different ways that people primarily experience scarcity. Now, these are definitely oversimplifications. Okay, these are sort of abstract models for how people frame scarcity, but they all link to specific instances. So I want to share a little bit about each one because I want to see if you see yourself in any of these, and you may see yourself in more than one of these too. It'll help you get a sense for, like, have you been heard, and is this something that's going to align with how you experience scarcity? And do you think that I'm hearing you and that we can actually help you? Because these are all areas where I definitely see that we can help. And I'll even share the general nature of the solution for each one of these too, so you can get a sense of which direction we need to go. And I'll tell you up front, if you're experiencing scarcity, these are all different forms of stuckness. It's not just a temporary scarcity experience. These models are based on people who are experiencing a deep level of stuckness, where they've been stuck in a certain type of scarcity for a long time, often for years, sometimes even for decades, and how they're experiencing it and how they're framing the situation for themselves. So the first one is, this is one that's most commonly associated with financial scarcity, where people are broke or in debt. It's this feeling of stuckness and scarcity and wanting to break free. People in this type of scarcity, they often feel like they just don't have enough. They feel pressured, stressed, worried. They often perceive their scarcity experience as some form of threat that they have to defend against or shield themselves against. Some of the key words and key phrases that people use to describe this form of scarcity are stuck, trapped, in a hole, in a pit. They call it an abyss. More than one person used the exact phrase, in debt up to my eyeballs. it's an interesting way of thinking of scarcity, like you're in quicksand or something. You're this deep in it, sick of it, burnt out, bogged down, buried, trapped in a scarcity bubble. So there's this feeling of really being stuck, really being trapped. It becomes very visceral. People in this group often report feeling tired, drained, exhausted, depressed. The feeling of scarcity, the experience of scarcity saps their energy. They often have this sense of dread. They're constantly worried about some kind of financial collapse or some kind of other collapse in their life. And they're resisting that. There's a lot of energy that goes into shielding and resisting, into pushing against the scarcity experience. Financial scarcity is often combined with a feeling of energy scarcity and health scarcity. Many people in this group, they are suffering from various health problems, some of them chronic illnesses, some of them disabilities. Many people in this group are on welfare. And I'll tell you right up front, there'll be people doing this challenge with us who are experiencing various disabilities, various health challenges, and many on welfare doing this. In fact, I was actually really delighted to see that many of the people who responded said that they really appreciate pricing this low enough that even being on welfare, they can afford this. So that's really cool to see. These are the people I really want to serve with this. There's this feeling of a loss of hope, feeling helpless, not seeing a way out. Somebody used the phrase, it's the mindset of survive rather than thrive. I thought that was an interesting way of thinking about it. Another common phrase is trying to keep your head above water, like you're actually drowning, like you're in the ocean. So it's really interesting seeing the metaphors that people use here. That becomes part of the trap, is the way we frame it mentally. Because realize none of these things are actually real. They're not grounded in reality. You're not actually in a hole or a pit or an abyss or trying to keep your head above water. Where's the actual water? It's not there. So, part of the problem is how we're framing it. And I'm not saying that from a place of blame or anything like that. I'm saying that this is something we'll need to work on. This is something we'll definitely touch on and go deeper into during our 30 days together. What's interesting here is the perceived need for this group, where they often see the solution is not where the solution is actually going to be. So the perceived need is usually for something like more money. I need more resources. I need more income, more business ideas. I need to work harder. I need to remove the threat. And the bigger aspiration here that these people are usually going for is what they really want deep down is they want freedom. They want peace. They want relief. They want to remove this pressure. Some of them also frame it as they want to feel respected. They want to feel like they're contributing in life. They want to feel like their life matters. They feel like this experience of scarcity is robbing their lives of meaning. And they want to feel like their lives have some dignity and meaning. And so it's very important to me, especially the people in this group, that we approach this with giving them what they need. Give you that experience of respect and dignity right now. Like, that's part of this. Sorry, this is getting emotional for me because it's a bit personal. I went through this kind of experience myself, being deep in debt, $150,000 in debt at one time when I was in my 20s and going bankrupt. So, and I remember that feeling like you're a lesser person because you're in debt. And that's something we want to like nip that in the bud and help you, help you align with that, with being able to feel strong even when you're broke, even when you're deep in debt. I do think that's possible. Okay. Here's the interesting thing: is like the actual need is a little different than the aspiration. The aspiration, what people want, is a bit different than where the actual solution is in this space. So the actual solution, the actual need here, is. What's missing is a trust in reality. It's like trusting the world, trusting this place that you're in. That doesn't mean trusting people on an individual basis who may not be trustworthy. In fact, it means trusting human beings to behave like human beings. And sometimes they behave rotten. So we're trusting, though, a deeper sense of reality. It has to do with the relationship you create with reality. When you're stuck in this space of deep scarcity of this type, what's happening is you're losing a harmonious connection with life. You're creating a very disharmonious connection with life. Your life becomes about the conflict and then resisting the conflict. And the irony here is that the solution is in the direction of more gratitude and more appreciation for what you have right now. And that includes, and this is going to be really hard to swallow, that includes appreciating and finding value in the experience of scarcity itself. See, scarcity is not your enemy. Scarcity actually is a powerful teacher. It's a powerful ally. In fact, many people who've gone through experiences of scarcity and they've shifted to abundance afterwards, they look back on that experience of scarcity and remember how valuable it actually was, what they learned from it. I learned to be happy when I was broke. I learned some of my deepest abundance lessons I learned when I was getting kicked out of my apartment because I couldn't pay the rent. Scarcity is a very powerful teacher. It's a valuable part of life. And the problem is when you're resisting it and you're putting all your power into your shields, you're not putting them into your warp drive. You're not putting them into your creativity. So much of your energy, typically it feels like about half your energy is just being wasted on the stress, on that feeling of pressure, on resistance, on trying to relieve the pressure, on distracting yourself, procrastinating in various ways. And the solution is not more effort. It's not more power. People in this experience of scarcity often, they ask questions like, what should I do? What are the action steps I need? How do I get out of this space? They think of it as more action, or different actions, or right actions. And that's the trap. That's the trap of this form of scarcity, is that's not actually going to help. Because your action, your energy's not aligned with taking positive, creative action. Too much of it is bleeding away in the form of worry and stress and dealing with the pressure and dealing with those feelings. So we have to resolve those feelings. We've got to go deeper into that emotional space and stop resisting the experience of scarcity and learn from it instead. There's a bit of a surrender process that happens here, okay? So this is just a quick overview of the solution space. I know it may not make total sense right now because we're covering it in a fairly abstract way. So this is something we're going to go much deeper into during the 30 days because I know there's a lot of powerful lessons here that will be really deeply transformational for people who are in this space. I want to I want to especially give these people lots of love. I think they need it. So second type of scarcity that I saw in people's feedback. This is common with people you might describe as very mental, like software developers, engineering types, people who work a lot in their heads, and they're not as feeling, they're not like the touchy-feely types of people. These are people you would not expect to give you a hug. They're going to offer a handshake. They might offer a hug, but if you hug them, it'll feel a little bit perfunctory. You won't feel that sense of warmth. This group is often doing okay financially. They're very practical. They're grounded. There's a lot of lawyers in this group. There's accountants in this group, people who work with their minds a lot. They often have this feeling like they've hit a plateau. Life is becoming boring. It's getting a little repetitive. They may feel a bit impatient or dissatisfied. But that feeling is often a bit mild because they're not so deeply in touch with their emotions most of the time. They usually frame their challenges on a very mental level, a very factual, truth-based level. These people are often looking for strategies. They're looking for roadmaps. They may think they need a little more discipline. They often ask, how can I be more consistent, is one of the telltale signs of this group. All the groups tend to have a bit of problem with consistency, but this one seems more than others. So there's not usually so much of a feeling of visceral stuckness, but more of like a mental, like they're stuck in a loop mentally. Like they just keep going over the same types of possible solutions and nothing is really lining up. They try this, it doesn't really work out. They try that, it doesn't really work out. They just sort of hit this like feeling of leveling out where they know something greater is possible, but it's elusive. It's always just one step ahead of them. They often describe their situation as in terms of a lack of clarity, like they'll feel uncertain or torn or not sure what to do, or they'll talk about the risks. Every direction they see risks. There's a lot of concerns in this group about preserving what they have and not losing it. They don't like this idea of starting over. Many people, if they're, let's say, an outside observer describing people in this group, they would say, these people are doing fine. Like, by society standards, you're doing great. These are the people who work stable jobs or they have stable businesses. Or if they lack stability, it's not phasing them too much. These people are not as stressed out and pressured as the first group. But even though other people might envy their situation, they're not feeling it. There are millionaires in this group. And in fact, I can tell you there'll be some millionaires doing this deep dive with us, at least the ones that have told me. You can have a lot of money and still not feel abundant because you've often done things that are not very hard aligned to get yourself there. These are the people who have gone so far down the path with it ahead, the path that makes logical sense, following the path of security, stability, maybe financial wealth, but something's missing on the inside. And what they often lack is this deeper feeling of connection with life, this feeling of intimacy, this feeling of flow. Some would describe these as stunted artists, like the person who would love to be a musician but never got into doing their music. The person who turned their back on that creative path and they went for something stable instead. It's the lawyer that would love to be a rock star type of thing, if that makes sense. The common aspiration, well, let me talk about first the perceived need. The perceived need I mentioned a little earlier. For the people in this group, they often perceive that their need is for the proper plan, the logical strategy, the roadmap, more consistency, sometimes more discipline. Sometimes they see it as needing less self-sabotage. Okay? The aspiration for this group, what they tend to really want deep down, is they want this feeling of growth and expansion and leveling up. They want something more or different than what they have right now. And their actual need is a little different than that. Their actual need is that they really need more emotional depth in their lives. They need more courage. And I mean courage in the sense of heart alignment. They need more passion. They need to follow that path with a heart. And they even need, to some extent, to allow themselves to invite the potential for more heartbreak and sorrow. They need to take more emotional risks is really the path out of here. They're playing it safe emotionally, and that's getting them stuck. The strength of this group is their truth alignment. They're very grounded. They're very stable. They're very practical minded. But where's the fire? The fire is what's missing. That emotional resonance, that excitement, that passion. This is a group that has to drag themselves out of bed in the morning sometimes. They don't wake up like feeling alive and awake and engaged with life. And the longer they go down this path without a heart, the more difficult it gets. Life starts to feel harder and less engaged year after year after year, as long as they keep turning their back on this path with a heart. This is a group that later in life, the older they get, the more they tend to regret the path they've chosen. When you know you're following that path without a heart, it really gets hard as you get older, as you keep going down it. And you feel like you're missing something valuable in life, but you can't quite put your finger on it. That's because you're not going to figure it out with the head. We got to get more into that heart space and open that up. So that's the general solution space. Interestingly, what this group I think most needs is they need to play. They need especially to play in the realm of emotion and desire and facing their fears. They need a more playful attitude towards life. And it's through play that they'll be able to open up more and discover more of that path with the heart. Sometimes when you frame it as like facing your fears, that's a little too much for them. But if we take it in the direction of play, that's like a shortcut into the heart space. And that can work really well with people in this group. Let's talk about the third group now. So the third group, this is a group where I would lump a lot of musicians and creative types and people who tend to be very heart-centered. So this is the group that has that really strong heart alignment. These are the huggers, the huggers who are often broke. Okay, so the people in this group, they feel really heart aligned much of the time, but they're often disappointed with the world. They don't like, especially the way the world runs. They don't like war or conflict. They often don't like borders or countries. They want us all to be one, and great. But the world doesn't cooperate with them. And the problem is, when the world doesn't align with their values, they often see that as something to resist. And it puts them in a state where they're sometimes pretty skittish and they can be pretty sensitive to criticism. It'll often put people in this place where they engage with the world and then they do retreat, and they engage and they retreat. Many people in this group report feeling a bit alien, like they don't fit in to the world, and They want to cocoon themselves to some extent much of the time. This is where I would lump the people who describe themselves as having Lightworker Syndrome. I wrote an article with that title years ago, and it basically describes people who believe they're light workers, they want to do good work in the world, they want to do positive work, but they can't get themselves to engage with the world the way the world is right now. They're a bit too idealistic, and they're resisting the way the world is and what it can actually teach them. They don't see so much value in that. They're more like, here's how it should be, let's create that. But when they try to do that, they can't find a sustainable way of doing it because the world is fighting them. And so it's like the person who wants to change the world, make it better, but they can't even pay their bills. And a lot of the people in this group are broke. You know, it's the starving artists that are in this group. There's a lot of people in this group, they found what they love to do. They found that they love art, they love music, they love working with people or children or animals or whatever, you know, whatever it is. It's kind of funny that I lumped children and people in different groups, but parents will understand. Anyway, just a joke. So the idea here is that you're generous and caring, but the world is not cooperating with that alone. There's something missing here. So you have this brokenness and you have this stuckness. Some people in this group ask, how can I have abundance when others don't? They feel guilty about creating abundance of any form, like financial abundance, even social abundance can make them feel guilty. There's a lot of limiting beliefs that create stuckness in this group. They can be very conscientious, very compassionate, very kind, very generous, but sometimes their sensitivity is very high and it makes them feel very, very vulnerable, and they need to check out occasionally. There's a lot of concern in this group about staying aligned with your values. That's like a really high thing for them. They do not want to violate their values. They do not want to have a cold life. They're so in that heart space. It matters so much to them. They would rather be broke. And many of them do stay broke because of how they're approaching this, because of how they're creating this stuckness. Some people get stuck here because of perfectionism as well. They get glimpses of abundance much of the time, but it's usually fragmented and inconsistent. There's this feeling for some of them that they have something to prove. A lot of people around them will look at them as if they need to prove, they need to justify what they're doing by making some money. And this group feels really out of alignment with that idea. Sometimes they succumb to that pressure, but it never really feels good when they do. So the perceived need for this group is usually about finding the alignment, finding the flow, finding more self-confidence. Sometimes they're seeking a bit of validation. They want some money or success or fame or fortune to validate this heart space that they're in. And oftentimes that validation is pretty short in supply. It doesn't really come through with the abundance they would like. And so that can lead to a feeling of more withdrawal and a bit of disappointment in how the world works. Like, if I'm so heart aligned, if I'm doing this oneness, harmonious work, shouldn't the world help me out here? And it doesn't always do that. In fact, much of the time it just leads to a deeper form of scarcity. So this group is often a bit confused about that. Their bigger aspiration is they just want to feel even more centered in love. They want to be sometimes surrounded by amazing people, an amazing tribe. I'd say deep down, they want to be appreciated for who they are. They want somebody to say to them, it's amazing that you're so heart-centered, and it's amazing how loving you are, and you're just awesome and wonderful right as you are. In fact, they would love if the whole world would acknowledge that. if just people in general would notice that about them and would appreciate how caring they are. And they hate fakeness. They don't want to have to pretend in a world that seems phony and fake to them much of the time. These people love authenticity. So, what's the aspiration of this group? Well, I mentioned that. What's the actual need of this group? So if the aspiration is like, feeling appreciated and feeling really centered in love and having an amazing tribe that supports them and cares about them, the actual need, and this is the tricky one because it takes them in a different direction than most would think about going, and this is the reason for the stuckness. The actual need they have is to trust more in their own uniqueness and to even amplify it, to be their own authority in the world, to get into leadership, to have more ambition for developing their character as someone unique and different from everyone else. And that's a tough thing for this group to swallow. Their strength is their love and their passion and their heart alignment and their creativity, but where's the leadership? Where's the differentiation? Where's the specialness? There's too much risk of this group of descending into sameness and getting so into the flow of love and oneness that you miss the aspect of cultivating your own unique character in this life and being your own authority. And the solution here is to basically own your uniqueness and even amplify it. Think of your favorite song, for instance. My favorite song of all time is Enjoy the Silence by Depeche Mode. Depeche Mode's my favorite group of all time. And they're unique, they're different. You know, there's no other band quite like them. But if they were, you know, so much the same as every other band, they would lose their specialness. They would lose that edginess that makes them different and unique, that makes me really like their music. I like their music because nobody else sounds quite like them. Think about your own favorite song or your own favorite performer or band. What is it you really like about it? You know, like, you probably notice what you really like about their music is that it's different, it's unique. There's something special in it, some kind of special sauce that you enjoy. And I think that's true with a lot of things in this space, that we need to amplify and own our own uniqueness. And the fear here with this group, these very hardline people, is that if they go a path that's very different, it'll make them less lovable or make them feel less connected. And the actual truth is the opposite happens. It makes them more attractive, more inspiring to others, makes them more of a leader, and it actually draws more people into their sphere. So that's the third one we'll work on. Now, do you see yourself in any of these? I'm curious, because if you do, then this is definitely something for you. There's, you know, variations on these. These are, you know, somewhat abstract models too, but they all align with specific challenges that people have. So the thing here is that when we cover these abstract models and we, you know, get into them, it helps you better understand your situation by looking at it from different angles. You might even see parts of yourself in all three of these, okay? That's very common. So the models, you know, the modeling, that's something will evolve over time as we go through the series too. This is our initial, you know, roadmap for starting out here. And I think it's a pretty strong one. I think this really hits a lot of core issues that people are having, and it really points to solutions for each of these. What's interesting is when we look at, you know, these different models, we can answer the question, what is scarcity? And we can also answer the question, what is abundance? In a really high level way. And here's the interesting answer. Scarcity is really a lack of trust, because in each of these three situations we have a lack of trust. In the first one, it's a lack of trust in reality itself. In the scarcity experience, people don't trust it, they resist it, and they bleed off a lot of energy there. In the second situation, it's a lack of trust in one's feelings, in one's heart, in that path with the heart, in following a path of courage and alignment and passion and flow. There's this sense of retreating into the head. In the third situation, there's a lack of trust in one's own uniqueness, in cultivating a very different character to live than everyone else. And in each case, that's what creates the stuckness, is that lack of trust. And in each case, also, the solution, the path to abundance, is to cultivate a deeper ability to trust. In the first case, a deeper ability to trust in reality, to trust in the scarcity experience. In the second case, to trust more deeply in your feelings and to balance that more with your head, with your logical thinking. And in the third case, to have a deeper level of trust in your own uniqueness and actually to invest more in that which makes you different from other people. That's how you become a more successful musician or creative artist, is like go down the path that makes you more unique. Follow your own values, follow your own inspiration, invest really deeply in that. And you know, we see problems that come from the scarcity stuckness. What's really interesting also is that the solutions are more internal, and the problems, the ways people try to solve it was with external aspects. So what we're doing is we're objectifying our actual needs. So in one case, we're, you know, what we really need is more trust, more oneness in, more alignment, more harmony with the experience of scarcity, with the experience of life, with the flow of life, with what life is bringing us. And we objectify that in the form of thinking as we need money. Like money is a way of objectifying oneness. We take oneness, we take harmony, we take flow, and we turn it into something transactional. And that's a cause of stuckness. In the second case, we objectify courage and passion. What we really need is we need courage, we need passion, we need emotional energy to move forward. And we turn it into this mental thing. We turn it into something external. We turn it into a plan, a roadmap, a strategy, and we lose the flavor of that. We lose the alignment with abundance when we do that. And in the third case, we objectify our actual uniqueness, and instead of having genuine appreciation for our gifts and receiving that, we turn it into just some kind of like shallower form of validation, like wanting money to validate our art. And it's more like the money will flow when we really own our character, instead of expecting validation when we haven't really sculpted our unique character. So it's interesting that there's like a pattern to all these problems. It's always a lack of trust. And imagine, what it would be like to try to experience abundance without trust. You can't really do that. But imagine having a deeply trusting relationship with reality, with your feelings, and with your own uniqueness. That's essentially how we're defining abundance. And that's, the approach we'll be using throughout much of this series. So there's really no hope for abundance without trust. If you are not willing to lower your shields a bit and invite more trust into your life, then I don't think you're ready for the series, because trust is just so important to creating abundance. We have to be able to deepen our trust in life, in our feelings, in our uniqueness. That's how we experience abundance. Let's talk about what you probably don't even realize you're missing. This is kind of an interesting perspective on abundance here. See, I think the true cost of scarcity is it's something you might not even be thinking about, but I think the real cost of scarcity in any of these areas, it's the things you didn't express. It's that book you never wrote. It's that album you never composed. It's the trip you never took. It's the relationship you never had. It's also what people are missing a lot is the appreciation that can really flow into your life for you being you, for you creating your own unique character, especially with that third group. That's one of the things I discovered when I really got into alignment with this abundance in this third area. I've had all three of these forms of scarcity show up in my life, some of them multiple times. And what I can really say here is that one thing you're missing when you're in scarcity is appreciation for who you are. It's really amazing. It's really such a different tone and different flavor of life when, like, every day or every week, people are appreciating you for who you are. Like, there was a certain time in my life where I had none of that. And for many, many years now, that's been my daily reality. Every day people thank me for the work I've done, for how it's affected them. Having that appreciation for me being me, that is awesome. I have to say, that really gives me a deep feeling of abundance. And it goes way beyond money. To me, that's actually more important, to feel like I have a valuable place in the world, that people appreciate me for the work I do, for the contribution I make, for the effect I have on them. I would sacrifice all the money and all the stuff and keep that rather than vice versa, just because of how it makes me feel so much more connected to the flow of life and inspires me more. Knowing that you contributed, that's a really powerful aspect of abundance that you could be missing if you're stuck in scarcity. And, a real key here also is having such a positive relationship with life that when you follow your path with a heart, when you do the things that inspire you, not you're guessing or you're hoping, but that reality will have your back. There's going to be some kind of alignment that comes into the picture here when your intentions are pure and when you just feel like, I've got this. There's just so many amazing things that stem from that kind of relationship with life, where you trust life. You trust the flow of life deeply. You feel aligned. There's a good friend of mine that he describes his feeling of being in the flow as being aligned. That's what abundance means to him. He says, Steve, it's about feeling aligned. So that's one of the things we're going to work on in the series, is helping you get that feeling of aligned, helping you get this feeling of pervasive, unconditional trust with the flow of life, with your feelings, with your own uniqueness. And the other part you're probably missing if you're stuck in scarcity is you probably spent so much time and energy dealing with the challenges of scarcity, you probably haven't given much thought to the challenges of abundance. Many people, especially in the first group, they see abundance as that's the road to freedom. Now there's so much energy just going into wanting to escape those challenges of scarcity, get rid of the pressure. But when you get to abundance, you get a different kind of pressure. It's a positive form of pressure. It's the pressure to find your life purpose and really invest in that. It's the pressure to explore human connection and intimacy and upgrade your relationships. It's a pressure to follow a path of deeper and more interesting creative expression. especially if you're a creative artist of some type. It's a feeling of wanting to have more impact and scaling up and being a leader and creating more positive ripples in the world. One thing is that you'll tend to be stuck in scarcity more if you resist graduating to those challenges. If you see abundance as just like, that's the end, now I'm free, I'm done. That's not how it really works. There's more lessons to learn here. So realize that that abundance isn't just like all roses, and it's not just like you're in heaven and your life's just gonna float to the finish line from there. There's more challenges. Abundance has its own types of challenges. And I think you have to be ready to want those kinds of experiences, to want to invite that. And these are big challenges too. They're just of a different nature. Instead of worrying about paying your bills, now you're thinking, how can I help people? How can I be of service? How can I be more authentic? And I'll tell you, those are tough sometimes. I've been working with these types of challenges for many years, and they're tough. In many ways, they're more difficult than the challenge of how am I going to pay my bills, or how am I going to pay my rent, or how am I going to scrounge some money together, or what do I do to get food? Like, it's just a different experience. And so these are some of the things I think you're missing. That if I turn the page a little bit and help you think about it from this perspective, it can actually help. It can actually help you move towards abundance alignment. Because I think people have an unrealistic framing, and I think a lot of that is promoted by marketers and stuff that promote abundance too much on the freedom angle or like lifestyle stuff. Lifestyle's cool, it's a part of it, but that burns out really quickly. People can only hammer so much on the lifestyle stuff before it starts to feel like it's plateaued and it's gotten boring. There's got to be something more to the abundance experience than that, and there really is. And so I want to really focus on the depth of this. Okay, what about the vibe that we want to create with this? This is really important to me. I want to do a conversational tone with you, much like I'm speaking right now. So if you like this kind of tone, if you like just like tell me how it is, be honest with me, be authentic, great, that's what I'm going for. I want to maintain that kind of tone throughout the series. I don't want to make this salesy or rah-rah or I want it to be inspiring and motivating. I want there to be heart in it, but I want a lot of head, depth there, and alignment, and that head space has to be aligned with the heart space, has to be aligned with physical actions that we can take. Okay, think of it as like we're gathered around a campfire and we're all in the same tribe and we're working on this together. I want it to be honest and down to earth and real. I want it to be grounded. We have talked about the practical side, action steps, things you can actually do. And I also want to be results oriented, where there's a lot of understanding and depth we want to go for there, but we want to apply this to real world challenges. We want to help you make some progress here. Most importantly, I want this to have a caring and compassionate and kind and gentle vibe, because it was really, really obvious, really clear to me that based on the email feedback that people, there's many people who really need that. They need, the equivalent of a hug. We're not going to do any shame or guilt in this, okay? This is just like focusing on positive heart energy alignment. I want to be encouraging. I want to help you, I want to help you get the freedom that you want. And I also want to help you, feel good about the current challenges you have. I want you to be able to feel strong right where you are. And that takes a lot of encouragement. This is where you really need to leverage that community support. I think it will be really helpful for you if you haven't had that kind of experience before. I also want this to be lively, engaging, fun, playful, enthusiastic. I love this topic. This is a topic that has so many deep roots in my own life. It's got a lot of deep meaning for me. This is very much a path with the heart for me to do this kind of thing. I want it to be cooperative. I want to focus on the team connection here, inclusive, respectful, and honoring your sense of dignity regardless of what your current situation is. I know there's, I mentioned before, there's going to be people on welfare and disabilities, doing this, and I want it to be win-win for them and for everybody. Millionaires, people who feel like they're dead broke, deep in debt. Let's all be in this space together and let's all help each other. Okay? I want there to be room in this for mystery, for inspiration, for spirituality, for this nature of reality angle. I want to invite some chaos into here. I don't want it to be too structured. Yes, there'll be structure. Yes, there'll be lots of core mental ideas, but I want us to open this to a deeper sense of possibility and and see what flows. I love being in that space, the flow of inspiration. This group energy can be really inspiring if you haven't experienced it before. And if you have, then we're in for a treat by co-creating something awesome together. I also want there to be space in this for healing. I know a lot of people have they have some kind of wounds, emotional wounds, sometimes wounds that involve real physical abuse. Some might frame it as spiritual wounds. I want to have a space for healing here. I want to be able to restore some of that trust that you need to get on that path to abundance. Okay? What about the actual content? I'm listing, some of the content ideas on the website, so I don't want to rehash all that here, but I can say, it's going to be an integrated approach. We're going to talk about the financial aspect, the lifestyle, social abundance. Some people wanted to talk about sexual abundance. We can cover that too. Energy abundance, time abundance versus time scarcity. We'll, establish some underlying principles. I've alluded to some of them already without going, too detailed on them. We'll go into more depth on those. I want to talk a lot about the fundamentals of abundance. We're going to create a fundamental framework that you'll be able to understand that we can build upon. It's actually a fairly simple but powerful framework. And I haven't gone into detail on the framework yet, but those three aspects of abundance, they connect to this framework. If you've read my book, Personal Development for Smart People, that was published back in 2008, then you're probably already familiar with this framework. But it's a framework based on three principles: truth, love, and power. And what's really interesting is that all three forms of stuckness that I mentioned earlier, they all connect with leaning too heavily in one of these three areas, like retreating to truth, retreating to love, and retreating to power, and losing the balance there. And that's what gets people stuck. They rely too much on one of these principles of growth, and what we need to do is move them more towards that other side of the triangle that they're missing. They're stuck at one of the vertices, and they're not doing the other side of the triangle. And in each case, it's a different solution path. And when we create more balance, it helps remove the stuckness. So, we'll cover that. We'll cover the mindset, the heart set, the reframes, and the perspective shifts. We'll cover action steps, what to do, practices you can do to help you align here, tools you can use, habits you can work on developing. We'll cover the spiritual aspect of this too. We'll cover the objective, the grounded side. We'll cover the subjective reality side. Anything I think that can be helpful, I want to include that here, because different people are coming at this from different angles. Some are coming at it from a real head space, some from a heart space. Some see this as a spiritual challenge. And I want to create an open space where we can invite and work on it from all those angles. We'll cover the angle also of the law of attraction and manifesting as well. In fact, we'll even do our own manifestation experience, because some people suggested they wanted to have this type of group intention experiment. So we'll do that too. And I've shared the intention on the webpage for this. So we can, refine that intention as we go along. You can do variations of it. But we'll focus on doing a group manifesting experiment. So we'll all put our own spiritual energy, if you believe in that sort of thing, into manifesting abundance for all the participants, and even creating positive ripples beyond this group. I want you to, feel really supported in this experience. I want you to be willing to, stretch yourself and participate and try something different. Come at this from a different angle. Really invite a lot of that group energy, and really work on deepening your feeling of trust in this reality. And I realize you may be coming at this from a place where you don't feel you can trust very much. I understand that. And let's see if we can make some progress in healing that together. Okay? Question is, are you open to that kind of experience? Okay? There's more content ideas, but mostly I want to just go with the flow of inspiration as we go through this. Okay? I mentioned, the offer and the price, so I don't really need to rehash that again. I will say, again, that I'm really trying to design this to be like a no-brainer for you, like irresistible, like easy to say yes to it if this is really the type of experience you want to have. And I hope I've been able to convey that through this video, like the type of vibe and the type of content, the type of experience we're going for here. I don't think this will be for everybody. I think some people will be really strongly aligned with this, and they're yes, and they're all in. Beautiful. That's the kind of person I want in this group. I want us to be able to really trust each other and work on this together. And if you don't feel aligned with it, I wonder why you're still watching this video up to this point. I'm really pricing this for the experience. I don't want you to come at this from a feeling of pressure, like you're pushing yourself to get a result. I think that's actually counterproductive. I want you to come at this from a more open-minded place. Yes, have the intention to get a result, but I think you'll actually get better results if you allow this process, allow this experience to work upon you. Allow yourself to invest in this group energy and to let it wash over you and let it run through you. I want you to be able to laugh during this experience, and I want you to be able to have space to cry during this experience if you need to. This is like an emotional thing for me to do this too, because of how it connects with some things in my past, and you know, whether we've met or not, I really do care about you. I want you to have a good experience here. Okay. Now, this said, we're not doing any tiers here, and different pricing tiers. I want everybody to feel like they're on equal footing. And I thought about this next part carefully, and I don't want to do any refunds. There's not like a money back guarantee for this. And the reason is pretty simple. I want the people who do this to feel really aligned with this. I feel like, here's the thing. Offering a money back guarantee would almost certainly make me more money, because more people will sign up for it, and then they won't bother to do the guarantee, and it'll actually be like we'll have more people in the group doing it, but they may not be participating as much, the ones who joined because of the strength of the guarantee. I think it's actually counterproductive to do that, because I think we'll be pulling more people in the group who are not as committed to this type of experience and not as aligned with it. And I really want to focus on alignment here. I really want to do this from a heart aligned space. This is, I want to do this, I do want this to be financially abundant for me as well. And I want to be able to invest these funds in helping to, expand the type of work I do, especially with building more teamwork aspect into my business, being able to do more creative projects like this. I would love that. So the funds are, intended to help me with that too. And I think that's good for you as well, because I can make more, accessible offers like this if this works well, and I think it will. It just creates a whole new chance for us to work together in some cool ways here. So, the main reason I don't want to do the money back guarantee refund thing is I want people to sign up for this on the basis of trust. I want this to be a mutual trust thing. If you don't feel like this is a good thing for you, if you don't feel like this is a fair offer, then I encourage you to sit this out. Okay, I want you to feel good about this. I don't want to have this be like a feeling of pressure. I want this to feel like you're doing this because there's this feeling of alignment, and that you think like, this is right for me. I want to do this. This feels good. Okay. I'm also throwing in some extra gifts. Okay, I'm not going to go over those here, but these are not meant as like bonuses to push you to join. I'm hoping that you've already made your decision by this point, but this is just to give you extra reinforcement. Some people ask some questions about how we could help with more consistency, more flow. So many of these resources that we're sharing as extra gifts, they're, it's extra content. Some of it's reading material, extra videos. There's even a song included, like an affirmation song. And there's a lot of audio as well. This is meant to basically give you more, more help in this area, more material to go through when you want. You don't have to go through it all. It's a lot. It would take you many hours to go through all this material. But I want you to have an abundance of support for abundance too. So this is all stuff that, it's like all based, it's all my content or based on it. It's all, stuff I've previously shared about abundance. It's mostly older content on abundance, but I've handpicked, the stuff and put it together. And Rochelle helped me create a lot of these things too. So there's a nice, extra package of gifts just to give you some extra help, give you some extra support. I want this to be a really good thing for you. One in particular I'll mention now, which is I want it at the end of this experience to make it even easier for you. I want to create a summary guide, basically a PDF highlighting a lot of the key points, the key principles we talk about along the way, key tools, key practices, and so on. And I'll put that together, and that'll be shared like in early September, so at the end of the experience. So what happens after you sign up? So if you want to participate, first of all, go ahead and scroll on the bottom of the page, and you can sign up and join us now. I'm hoping it's a no-brainer if you're aligned with this experience by this point. When you sign up, you'll immediately get access to a welcome page that will have instructions, and those instructions will be emailed to you. It'll give you the registration link for the live calls. You do have to register for that separately because it's on a separate system, but it's really quick. It'll take you like 30 seconds or less to register, and then you'll get access. You only have to register once, and you'll get access to all 30 calls if you want to do them live. You don't even have to register for the live calls if you don't want to do them live, because you'll still get access to the portal where we put all the recordings just by signing up. Okay, so you get immediate access to the portals too. All the gifts are in there. Most of them you'll get immediately. Some of them we're still working on, and we'll put those up and add them to the portal as soon as they're done. Like Rochelle is still working on some, we're having some transcriptions done of some previous abundance videos that I did that were posted on YouTube. So we've transcribed some of those and got them up in a PDF form. So this is good for people who like to read, if they prefer to read the material instead of watching a video. So we're going to be adding some more of those as well. You'll get some emails along the way too, maybe extra encouragement and support, and maybe summarizing some of the things we're doing. Not exactly sure how I'll use that yet, but so that will be figured out along the way. And it's, this is meant to be a one-time experience. I have no plans to repeat this. Some people have asked if I'm going to turn this into like a product afterwards, and yeah, probably. I think it would be great to do that. It won't have the live experience aspect, obviously. So if you want to have the live experience, this is now. If you want to wait till later and just do the recordings, that's fine too. I'll probably make it available for like probably the same price. I'm not sure yet, so don't hold me to that. I think we're going to have an awesome experience here. So I do ask also that you be nice and you be kind and you be supportive to the people in the group, okay? I don't want to have to kick you out, but I am very protective of this group, so I want us to have a very aligned experience. So if you come in this from a place of total opposite of alignment of what we're doing here, like you're coming to spam or troll people or do personal attacks, I will kick you out so fast it'll make your head spin, okay? This is a place of mutual alignment and respect and trust and building community, and and I'm going to be a staunch defender of that space, okay? So if you're aligned with that kind of experience, great. Otherwise, don't even touch this. Another thing is I want you to be supportive of me doing my best. I want you to be on my side too. I want to be on your side. I want you to be on my side. I want us to come at this not from a competitive standpoint, but from a teamwork standpoint. So if there's any problems like along the way, I've never done this kind of thing before. Now we're using stable technology that we've used before for, we've used it in a Conscious Growth Club. So we're using the same type of membership portal, same type of plugins for that, using the same type of service we've been using for the past year for doing coaching calls in Conscious Growth Club. So we're familiar with all the tools. We're not actually using any new tools we haven't used before. But it's technology. There can always be glitches and stuff. And if anything happens along the way that's a problem, please let me know and please give me a chance to correct it, okay? You can reply to emails I've sent and let me know. You can use the contact form on my website and let me know. I want this to be reliable and stable and work. So let's intend for this technology to work well and everybody, to get the experience they want out of it. And if you have other ideas for improvement too on how we can, leverage what we're doing and make it even better as we go along, we have 30 days to do this together. So let's align with that as well. So I am asking for your support, and if anything, happens of a glitchy nature, your understanding and your forgiveness, and also your encouragement to help get it fixed. Okay, so I want this to be a win for you. If anything goes, bad with the technology, we'll make this right for you. We'll make it work. Okay, that's the intention here. I want this very much to be a win for you. So I don't want you to have to fret about that. Okay. So lastly, how do you make this decision if you haven't already? I'm hoping by now you already have made up your mind one way or another. I think this video should be more than enough to help you decide if you're aligned with this experience or not. One way to decide is this, do you think this will be a cool experience for you? Do you think it's worth $97? Okay, if the answer is yes, great, join us. Do you think this is going to make a difference in your life? If the answer is yes, great, I would love to have you join us. Another friend of mine, he makes decisions by asking the question, do I want the memory? Do I want the memory of having had this decision? Sometimes that was really helpful for when I had to make a tricky decision. Do I want the memory? So imagine it's August 31st and we're past this point of having done it all. Do you want to be able to look back on having 30 days of investment in abundance in your life? Do you think that would help? Or do you want to have the memory of doing this experience with the group? If so, great, join us. That should make it easy. I think the best question, the one I like to ask, is does this path have a heart? Do I feel like this is aligned to me on the heart side? I like following those types of paths. That's something that really tends to align me with abundance itself, is I follow that heart-centered path. Doing this kind of experience with you, this has felt like such a heart-centered path all the way through. I mean, just doing this video, I get emotional at times. That's authentic, that's genuine, it's not fake or anything like that. And I've been getting like so many weird synchronicities from the universe to just do this like every day, like multiple synchronicities. That's one of the signs I really know I'm following that path with the heart, is like when the universe is backing me up, when it's giving me every indication that yes, this is the way to go. Yes, yes, yes. So I'm getting just a huge yes all the way through, with the universe just telling me yes. So I'm wondering if you pick up on any of that. If you do, great. I'd love to have you in this. I think we can just co-create an awesome and amazing experience together. So again, the sign-up deadline is July 31st at midnight Pacific time. That's the end of the month. That's the end of July 31st, not the beginning of July 31st, okay? Do you want to do this? If so, scroll on the bottom of the page and click the Let's Do This button, and let's do this together. One last thing that I want to share. I know this video is getting a bit long. I'm hoping you've been able to keep going with it to this point. I want you to think forward, to imagining that you actually have your abundance alignment really locked in nicely, okay? Consistency can still be a challenge at some points. We'll talk about that too during the series. But let's say you've really moved beyond some of your deepest and most difficult scarcity challenges, and you're really in the abundance phase of life right now. I want you to be in a place where you think about paying it forward. And I even want you to think about that now. Like then when you become this really abundance aligned person, when that becomes your everyday reality, I want you to remember what scarcity feels like. And I want you to have compassion as much as you can muster for other people who are still in that kind of experience when you're in your abundance phase. I want you to keep your heart open to those kinds of people, and I want you to think about how you can create positive ripples for them. It's my hope that someday, you'll do your own type of abundance alignment experience with other people, help other people who are still struggling. I think if we approach this from the standpoint of this isn't just about us as individuals, it's not just a selfish pursuit. If you align with abundance, you can create positive ripples for many other people you come into alignment with. I think that's something that if you think about it now, it'll give you a deeper sense of meaning for why you're experiencing this scarcity you did. That's how I frame it. That's how, when I look back on my experience of being deep in debt and getting kicked out of my apartment and going broke, bankrupt, I think about it as something that keeps my heart open and keeps me aligned with remembering what that's like and wanting to help people in that situation. Really wanting to, help them up-level their experience of life, while also knowing that they're experiencing that scarcity for a reason, and it's not my place to try to rescue them from that, because they're learning something valuable from it. They're learning to appreciate abundance so much more. I learned to appreciate so many things in life from going through a scarcity experience. That was really the key there. And as my life has been upgraded financially and socially and career-wise and so on, I remember those lessons. I really remember to appreciate the small things in life, appreciate going for a walk, appreciate just breathing fresh air, appreciate all these little things in life, the sip of a cup of tea, little things that you would tend to overlook and take for granted. When you have that experience of scarcity and you remember it, I think that can be a powerful reminder to appreciate what you have. And that's another aspect of abundance. It's, there's a trust aspect to it that's very deep, but there's also an appreciation aspect. So I want you to think about that in advance. Like as you do this, think about how this is not just about you. If you upgrade your experience of abundance, you can teach that. You can share that with other people, just like I'm doing now. You can create positive ripples. Hey, if you want to do your own 30-day challenge someday, feel free to take this idea and run with it, okay? Do the same format if you think it works, or build upon it. Create your own version of this. Do something that's uniquely you, though. Don't just copy exactly what I'm doing. Put your own spin on it. Put your own flavor on it. Take it in a different direction. Whatever feels aligned to you. Follow that path that works amazingly well for you. And whatever you decide here, I wish you well. So whether you're in or whether you're out, I'm not attached to that. I want the people who do this to feel really aligned with it. And those who don't, I wish you well. And if you feel like learning from another teacher, great. Go pursue the path of abundance that works for you. Follow your own path with a heart.